I find myself here again, speaking to, through, and from my world. In this episode, I wanted to speak about what if the species transcended language, and what would it be like? So, bear with me, guys. Today's episode has a different rhythm. Okay, I don't know if anything can be heard. People should be able to hear it. Okay, so usually when I give these talks, it starts from a vision. The vision I have that inspired this episode is, what would a world look like if we transcended language? You know, I wrote something at first and then I changed it. I wrote post-transcended language. Okay, a species that has post-transcended language. So, what if the species transcended language? For now, it seems highly unlikely. I'm seeing this very far into the future, but it can happen. So the question of transcendence, now it has different meanings, but the meaning that I entertain for the word transcendence is that it equals going beyond. So what that means is that the human experience is actually how attention and experiential attention is in some sense existing to itself. Now, based on what we consider ourselves to be, we get access to reality. So if you consider yourself a physical being, you know, or let's say you're experiencing physicality, you have access to physical outcomes. Think of it this way, that karma is your own actions result, and so your own action based on the type of being you are, or the dimensions you are present in. I'll explain these dimensions, but the person can have a sort of karmic influence in accordance to, let's entertain the traditional idea of body, mind, soul. Right now, there is a level of body. I call this the visible dimension, the visible life. So very, very straightforward. Our visible life is silent. What does that mean? That means man can witness objects, but when you hear something, that's when there is a translation, a conversion going on, right? That means a person, let's say, can move an object from a table, but in some sense when you hear a sound, to move that sound wave, it happens in regards to one's experience of meaning. So first I'm trying to consider the dimensions to the human being, and then I'm going to talk about what they would imply if we transcended language. So I'm saying the traditional idea of body, mind, soul. Body is the visible life. We have the mind. The mind is our invisible life. And so the idea of the soul can be seen as your unknown life, or better yet, inconceivable life. So pretty much I'm this being considering that, okay, my body is the visible life, visible part of my life. My mind is the invisible part of life. Why? Because what I imagine I can't touch. Just because something is invisible, this means we don't have the capability to access it. Same with atoms and subatomic particles and what is it, like, the interest of string theory and the 10, which is out of this world. So when it comes to our visible life, I would say it's a silent physical movement, okay? But when it comes to our invisible life, this is all the game of language. So I'm saying that, okay, your body, I gave a very interesting talk on this. I called it the eventum. I was like, okay, we look at the body, and the smallest particle, we're saying an atom. And I was thinking, okay, what about the mind? And the smallest particle for a mind, it's actually an event. So I coined the word eventum. Our invisible life has to do with symbolism, sounds, and you can even say like film snippets, inner films. So I'll get to the soul, but what I'm trying to say now is that if we transcended language, meaning that human beings no longer needed symbolism to convey their inner lives, it will be a life where we don't need to speak anymore. We would see that the body has been comfortable with it. When I look at my own life, I have silently moved in this world way more than I've spoken in it. That means I would say the variations of the different ways I've moved the particles of my body have moved, I find it to be way more complex than the various ways I've seen this life. So, there's 3 levels. See this as a concentric circle. The body is in the center. The mind is the second circle, around the first circle, and the soul is the third circle. Okay? So it would be this view. Let's say if you're a materialist, the body's the bigger circle, the mind is the second circle, and the circle inside, you can consider that to be the soul. But I'm taking a different approach, where I'm saying that our body is actually within a space of our mind. The whole space of our mind is the experience of soul. But you can't know the experiencer. Why? Because it's not in this room. Meaning, if a remote control car, let's say somebody's like, moving a remote control car or a drone or something, it would realize that it is being moved by invisible commands, by waves. It's all about the maturity of beings in a world. When it comes to our physical life, I think there is no issue with the absence of language. But when it comes to our mind is here to express the variations of what we see. When I sit down to give these talks, there is something more that requires to be present behind my eyes than in front of it. The moment I find that, so, the mind has a component of time, it has a component of memory, without an ability to hold on to the first memory, first conscious memory, there is nothing to change into the second memory. So consciousness begins by holding a stable point, and from that stable point, behind its eyes, internally, projecting a world. So what it is that the way the outer realms has meaning is because we're living an inner life that is different to it. If the inner life was exactly like the outer life, there would be nothing new. It would be as if the world would be our master. But there is something that has mastered an ability to move differently than what it sees. So let's say, a bunch of people are running and one of them trips and they notice there's a ditch, right? The inner realms of all the individuals that see that person fall suddenly shift and they all avoid that ditch. So, who was it? I don't know. I think it was Seneca who said something in the lines of, people suffer more in absence language. It will be as if it is not in its inner realm was not enough. Right now, the human experience, what do they say when somebody wants to learn something or remember something? They say that if you assign meaning to something, you have in some sense connected it to the context of the type of journeyer you are. If we are to consider that something happens, I don't know, whether through technology, let's say the human minds, the era of collective mindhood is ushered in. If people's minds have an ability to exchange information faster than we can speak it, it will make speech obsolete. What would that render us, render the species as? It would render us as silent knowers. You see, I thought that a part of me has this feeling that right now the way we're being human beings is a phase. To be a human being, a creature in a world, this is a phase of a massive event. There has always been greater events before our appearance, before our entrance into this reality. And the cool thing about life is that there are so many mysterious preceding events that everybody is born in an unknown verb, really. I have thought about it. You know, there was a Discord discussion once and the idea came there for the first time and I shared it with people and I said, I got a vision of a type of future where the species I think I termed it the silent humanity. What it is that it's the era where human beings can exchange information as a collective mind way faster. So if two people see each other, they don't need to speak. Their eyes kind of become connected and the knowings in some sense, let's say, transfer. Alright guys, it's telling me, anybody who's a tech expert, it's telling me the keyframe frequency should be 4 seconds or less. The current keyframe frequency is 7.1. So, where do I go? Okay. I gotta apologize, guys. I don't know how to fix this. Anyways. For those that it's too much of a hassle to listen to, like others, you can just listen to this later. Anyways, where am I going with yeah. So in that futuristic vision I had, people, there's either a collective, let's say cyber collective mind. Somehow the minds of the inner realms of people have been bridged. Right now we're using language to bridge, to create a bridge of meaning between each other's minds. In the future, it could even shift to a point where human beings will throw language at each other. What does that mean? This is the sort of vision I got of it. Imagine, how do I say it? Imagine two people with two special suits in the silent humanity meet each other in the middle of the city And I don't know why I envisioned it with an ability of floating technology being accessed in that vision. So what that means is people were in some sense floating around, and if you saw someone and you wanted to say hello, what you would do is your suit would create like a hologram cube or a hologram sphere, and you just throw that hologram sphere at the other person and they would instantly know. Right, so it's that the human species has expanded, has increased its transportation ability, right? Faster cars, faster planes. Now, one thing that the human being is doing is using communication to transport. It's using communication to transport inner vision, inner reality. So the speed of communication may accelerate to a point where, how would I say it? Our ears right now, I don't know what the exact number is, but they're processing, I don't know, at a certain speed what is being heard. Now, if the processor was sped up, then the speech could be sped up. If the ability of speech was sped up to such a degree, I'm pretty much trying to say, imagine somehow we could hear as we spoke faster, 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 faster. And imagine you spoke so fast, imagine faster than the speed of light to some degree, or so fast that it would be as if it would the distance, it would be as if there wouldn't be a second to even, like in 1 second the person would have heard like a 2-hour conversation. Imagine. I'm saying that which is technological, the human being plays around with. If we treat the mechanism of our own existence as a technology, then we may want to speed it up. One thing, of course, we will speed up is the brain. I don't know why I see in my inner realms, I can see a vision of it, that what's going to happen is the moment okay. Anyways, guys, to continue. The ability to communicate, the ability to process information, reaching such a point where we don't need to speak. This is so bizarre, because I am saying that the way the world is going forth, there could be a chance that the human voice box might become obsolete if information doesn't need a vocal channel. Do you understand what's happening in this world, guys? It is dehumanizing. Do you understand? Something is moving in to replace the human experience, whether it's a technological ambition, whether it's some otherworldly ambition. We don't see it now because the changes are gradual, just like evolution. Okay, you don't suddenly notice it, or after like 20 years, you're like, my God, I grew up. My body's different. But you don't notice it day to day as you're changing, right? Over time, I think this is what's going to happen. I can't see a way out of it for the species because it's too ingrained. It's like